everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ed's Auto Garage. This is Ed Arango coming to you once again live from within my garage here in Huntington Beach, California. And as you can see, I closed my blinds a little bit, so it's a little bit more dimmer in here than it has been. And you can see the Alpha back here a little bit. Oh, and you can also kind of see my 63 Vespa sitting back here in the corner. But today I wanted to welcome on a car enthusiast, designer, artist from within our kind of local car scene culture here in Southern California, and he's known nationally. We've got Fireball Tim Lawrence on today. Welcome, Fireball, to the show.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for having me, man.
Sure.
Yep.
So I just found out just a few minutes ago, those of you that might know of Fireball Tim, we may all think that Tim is his first name and Fireball is just kind of his nickname, but he is actually, his actual first name is Fireball. And how did that come to be? I mean, was that something your parents just all of a sudden said, okay, this one's going to be called, Fire Hydrant, and then you're going to be Fireball?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's it's a product of growing up in the 70s or late 60s family. And, I grew up in a Hollywood family and creativity was abundant. So I have a brother named Ethan, a sister named Jordana, just interesting names. And, and I guess I'm glad my mom didn't yell heads up as I was coming out instead. Then I would have a completely different name. But yeah, it is what it is. And, people call me all kinds of different names. I think it's just a little bit weird when you first meet somebody, but it's all good.
Good. So you kind of touched on it for a second. You're kind of an LA Hollywood child, I guess you would say. And
Sure.
You and I are probably very close in age, so I'm assuming you grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, and in the LA scene. And how did tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you kind of lived and went to school, and your education after that point. Hi, everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying today's episode of Ed's Auto Garage. Today's show is brought to you by Arango Insurance Services. Arango Insurance Services is your traditional home auto commercial insurance brokerage that specializes in providing insurance to the automotive industry. From exotic and collector cars to private automotive collections to insuring automotive OEM repair shops, restoration shops, automotive component manufacturers, and even dealerships. We write coverages with many of the top carriers, and we can customize a policy to fit your needs. Check us out, Arango Insurance Services at www.arangoins.com or call us at 949-887-1274. Also, we're sponsored by Capta IMS, your no-nonsense insurance agency, management software, and CRM. Capta IMS is for the independent insurance broker to medium-sized agency. Capta IMS is built by insurance professionals for insurance professionals. Visit us at CaptaIMS.com. That is CAPTAIMS.com for more details. And we'll be including the contact information in our show notes. Back to the show. After that point.
Yeah, I grew up in Palos Verdes, which is a little bit north of you.
Mm-hmm.
A very beautiful town, not something that is necessarily akin to a Southern California look and lifestyle. But I grew up in a Hollywood family, and it was common for my parents to be working on projects and for me to go to studios a lot because they didn't know what to do with me, so I'd go with them to work or have to go back and forth. And so it became very common to be on a sound stage and to see things. And to see and to watch filming. So the idea of concept to completion became very focused in my mind. So the idea that no matter what I came up with, I could follow it through, and I could see that thing come to fruition. So I just, I loved cars. It wasn't something that no one in my family loved cars. There wasn't any real reason for it, other than my parents bought me die-cast cars, which were Hot Wheels, Matchbox, Corgis, Dinkies, and art supplies. Those are the only two things I ever wanted. I wanted to draw, and I wanted to draw cars. That's all I cared about.
Really?
And I would, we had some big olive trees on our property, so I would clean all the leaves out of the root systems, and I'd make little pathways, and I'd play with my Hot Wheels and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, just as far as I can remember, I loved the idea of car design. I loved the idea that each one of these cars was almost like a character. They exhibited different passions. I loved the colors, which in it's funny, when you think about your kids and you wonder what your kids are going to be like when they get older, just look at what they're doing now. I mean, my favorite thing was cars, art, and color, and that's what I do for a living. That's what I do now. And you may steer off and go do other things, but you always make your way back to your passions, to the things that are built in, your built-in software that you had as a kid, right?
Right.
So I got in trouble all the time because I would carry a big stack of index cards in my back pocket with me, and I would just draw in the back. I wanted to sit in the last row of the class or go to detention, because then I could really draw. And I just wanted to draw all the time, and I still have stacks of those cards in my closet. So my childhood was great. My family, we got to do a lot of really interesting things. As an example, my 1970, I think about 75 or 76, my dad was working on a TV show, and he said, "Hey, we have this company we're hiring to do special effects. You want to go check them out?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because I'm like 10 years old and I'm into Starlog magazine and all the cool stuff that's science fiction and all that kind of stuff. And my brother and I, we went to the shop in the valley, and we went into the back of the shop, and there's this 30-foot alligator sitting there. This massive, massive alligator, biggest thing I ever saw, right? It was almost maybe 2.5, 3 feet tall at its back. And this guy with his crazy hair comes out, and he goes, "Hey, what's going on?" And we're like, "Oh, look at this alligator. This is crazy." And he lifts up the head and opens the mouth, and he goes, "Crawl inside. You can crawl inside." We're like, "What?" So we literally, both of us, crawl inside this alligator and make our way down its throat, and then climb out the back. The back had this door that opened up, and you could climb out. And it was being done for the movie Alligator.
Right. I remember that movie.
Yeah. So then we go walking into the shop, and there are these spaceships on these stocks, on these metal stocks that are sitting there in the soundstage. And we're like, "Wow, this is really cool." It just, we didn't know anything about what it was, and we weren't there to deal with that. There was special effects for my dad's show. And the guy says, "Hey, you know what these are?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "These are motion control cameras. The cameras move around the ship, makes it look like the ships are flying." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And I'm 10, so I'm like, I'm freaking out at all this stuff. It turned out to be Star Wars. It turned out to be John Dykstra, and the shop was Apogee, which did all the special effects for Star Wars.
Wow.
So when you grow up and you see things like that, you get a behind the scenes of what it's like. And then you go to the movie, you go like, "Oh man, I get it now." And I just always wanted to do that. I grew up knowing that I was going to get into film, into something having to do with cars and movies and things like that. And that's what I ended up doing.
Wow. So, I mean, what a wonderful exposure at such a young age, for you. Did you go on to like art school? Did you just dive right in? Did you have contacts in the industry to get that foot in the door to help to allow you to do some of the designs that you've done in the art industry or the film industry?
You think that, with parents that work in the film industry, that it's an open door, but it's not, unfortunately. There's certain opportunities that can be provided, but ultimately, someone may open the door for you, but you got to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to college, and we moved from Palos Verdes up to Ojai. I went to college at Ventura College, just took a bunch of art classes. I didn't know what I was going to do. My family was, making TV shows and movies, and they most of them were writers, and I didn't want to be a writer. So when I was at Ventura College, I heard somebody mention the word Art Center, which is a car design school in Pasadena. And from that moment on, I geared everything I had. I ran down to the office, canceled certain classes, got into. I ended up in 1980. Let's see, 85 or 86. I think I went to Art Center until about 80. I guess the latter part of 88 or 89. And while I was there, I got an opportunity to work on a film. I got an opportunity to work on the first Batman film, which was the Michael Keaton Batmobile.
Right.
And I've told this story so many times, it sounds like I'm just repeating myself over and over again. But essentially, through a series of occurrences, I got a chance to meet Anton Furst, who was the production designer for the movie. He wanted some sketches, and I said I'm more than happy to do it. I got paid $250, which I thought was incredible. I'm a paid designer. I was in transportation design, designing cars for manufacturers. I knew I didn't want to go to Detroit. So I did a couple of sketches for this car, and about 8-10 months later, I got a call from Anton, said, "Hey, check this out." And he sent me photos of the Batmobile for the Michael Keaton film, which was a Tim Burton film, basically.
Right.
And that was my entry to the idea that I could be a designer in movies as a car designer, but I had no idea how to really enter into that world. So what I did do is when I graduated, I got through a series of unusual occurrences, but I think that they were just kind of the law of attraction, screwing with me a bit, is I got a chance to work at Walt Disney Imagineering. So I got hired there for about 3 years, and I was designing everything from the Indiana Jones ride, the cars for Autopia, Toontown, Disneyland Europe, and Japan. I met my wife there. So after about 3 years, they laid off 500 people. And in 1993, my wife and I went into business as a design shop. And we were out of Santa Monica on Main Street. And we've had our own business since. So she is a costume designer and builder. She built all the Nintendo characters for all the commercials where you saw Super Mario and Luigi beating the crap out of each other. So she built all those. And I'm Super Mario. So, we traveled all over the world and shot commercials for Nintendo. And at the same time, in between all that stuff, I was working on designing cars for film. So I did everything from Men in Black to Starship Troopers, Austin Powers, Gone in 60 Seconds, Jurassic Park, a lot of different, a lot of great films, great opportunities. And did that for the next 25, 30 years.
Well, and then for everyone out there, when you get a chance, get on your computer and check out fireballtim.com. That gets you over to his Fireball publishing site. I guess, is that correct to call it the publishing site, I guess?
Yeah, well, fireballtim.com is the main site, but my company now is Fireball Publishing. We started a publishing company about 5 years ago with the intention of creating automotive coloring books specifically for museums. And we are literally about to publish our 47th book. So that's the primary focus of my business now. And we are applying the idea of character design or design language of movie cars to coloring books.
And can the average Joe buy the coloring books from
you?
Oh
yeah. All the books are available on Amazon.
Okay.
Primarily we have, two types of clients. We have the car museums, and then we have individual clients that want custom books like Mattel or an individual that has a car collection or something like that, the Peterson, something like that. But all of our books are available on Amazon. Just type in, Fireball coloring books, and you'll see a bunch there.
Boy, so anybody that jumps on there and checks any of these Fireball sites out, it's a plethora of colors. It's eye candy to see what he's got on this site. And I'm scrolling through it at the moment, and I can tell Fireball, by looking at this, I can tell that you were the kid that was sitting in the back of the classroom doodling on paper on the back side of your peachy folder on
Yeah, yeah,
the the grocery bag wrapped math
yeah.
book, you know. Um,
Well, it's that thing, that when you lock into something that you're so passionate about, like our love of cars between you and I, Ed, is that we love cars to the point where every weekend we want to go and spend time with car people. We want to drive. We want to see cars. We want to live an automotive lifestyle, which is what this is.
right.
The idea of having a company that just sells product is doing myself a disservice. I want to be able to feed good things into the world. And coloring is a great creative experience for people, and there just wasn't any good automotive coloring books out there. But the idea that we can that you can populate the world with good stuff like that, but at the same time you can also go and experience these car shows and interact with people, and that authenticity is it's not like we have a company that does automotive coloring books, but we have the books made in China, and it's just some people drawing them, and they're not car people.
Right.
All of these books are drawn by me and drawn by, we have some ocean-based books that are drawn by my wife. And that's our love. That's our passion. We live in Malibu. We love the ocean. That's the kind of stuff that she wants to draw. And the kind of stuff that I love is cars. And I can't stop. It's something that has to be fed constantly on a daily basis.
And I happen to be kind of looking on some of your social media accounts the other day, and I guess your wife gets out there and surfs out there in
yeah.
Malibu.
Yeah. Well, she just celebrated her 70th birthday
Wow.
just the other day, and she started surfing in 1965. So to give you an idea, the original Gidget is a woman named Kathy Corner, and she works down here at Duke's, and she's a friend of ours. And so she's the original Gidget, but and even though her dad wrote the book Gidget and they made a lot of the movies, Gidget will tell you that she didn't really surf. She went to the beach because that's where all the dudes were, and
Right.
she wanted to hang out with the dudes, right? But my wife they're both named Kathy. My wife was the Gidget that actually surfed, and when she started surfing, there were no women surfers. It just wasn't something that was accepted out there. And so in Malibu, she's a legend here. She's someone that people respect, and she goes out there on her birthday. And honestly, I think she tells people that it's her birthday every time she goes out to surf so that she can get waves. It's a good technique, But for the most part, yeah, exactly. Hey, it's my birthday today. Oh, go ahead and take the wave then, right? So it works pretty well. But and she's there right now. She's literally surfing right now as we're doing this podcast.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's great.
she loves the ocean. It's her happy place. We're very blessed and very grateful to live in such a beautiful place. Anywhere in Southern California, honestly, is a beautiful place, just about.
Yeah.
So, we've been here since 1980, and if you can find a way to live your passion and to experience that, that's a blessed life. That's a really amazing thing to experience.
Yeah, it's true. So true. Kudos to her. That's great, man. So not only the Fireball publishing and your love for cars, and the drawing and the comic books,
Coloring books.
Excuse me, not comic books, coloring books.
It's
Let
okay.
me ask you about the coloring books for a second. Do you find that the coloring books are being purchased and given to children, or do the older folks our age, are they the ones kind of coloring and de-stressing using the coloring books, or how is that working?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When we first started, we bounced back and forth. We thought, oh, I'll make good, car books for kids. And then we started noticing that people were buying two of them because they wanted to give one to their kid and keep one for themselves. So we started noticing, well, maybe we're making adult coloring books. And then we started saying, screw it, let's not even ask that question anymore. Because the bottom line is, it's really both. It's really is that it's not really about whether you're a kid or an adult. It's whether you like cars.
Yep.
And the truth is that people will go to the Peterson, our books sell at the Peterson, and uh, and generally from what they tell us is that people are buying doubles and triples on books because they have multiple kids and they want one for themselves. We do a lot of book signings. We just did a book signing with Magnus Walker at the Peterson last Sunday, and we did a book for him. We had 1,000 people. We had people in line for over 3 hours just to get the books signed from us. And that's a blow mind, so that people are looking at them as collectibles. They'll buy one to keep and sign, or they'll buy one to color in. And it doesn't really matter. I think that what matters is that we're feeding, we're trying to feed the idea that when people say to me, I don't think kids are into cars right now anymore because everything's changing to EV and a lot of stuff, and which is baloney. Kids don't grow up and suddenly love EV cars, right? Kids grow up. I grew up in an environment where there was nobody loved cars. In my entire family, we had 7 people in our family. No one could care less about a car other than it's a station wagon and I want shotgun before we go to the zoo or something, right? So, where could I say that my passion for cars came from? It came from, it was pre-installed in some way. And I think that kids, that grow up, that the way that we grew up, your story is probably just as interesting as mine, is that you grew up and you just love this thing. It may be a particular kind of car. Obviously you have 2 Italian things behind you. That's the passion for you, right? I wouldn't be surprised if those bikes behind you were an Italian brand.
But I got a Bianchi right there.
Yeah, there you go. So you got one. Yeah. So there's something about that for you, and I'm sure you could tell stories about that ideology. But when people ask me, what's your favorite car? To me, my favorite car is the one with 4 wheels. I'm blessed to have very serious car designers as friends. I grew up at 11 years old running around George Barris's shop. He was Uncle George to me. My dad actually hired him to build a car for an Elvis movie back in the 60s called Easy Come, Easy Go. My favorite kind of car is something that's custom. It's something that is a piece of art, because I didn't draw Mustangs as a kid. If I drew a Mustang, it had a rocket launcher and it had ejector seats and it had, massive cans on the back. And it just, I wanted everything to be modified. I wanted everything to be custom. So, that was really my passion, is to take something that was regular and make it irregular. Take something that was conventional and make it unconventional. And I just love doing that. And I love hearing people's stories. So you go to car shows and you hear what somebody did or how they modified or how they improved. They took their Fiat to a show, and why is it their Fiat? What did you do? It's like, well, all it's got is a steering wheel cover. Well, you did that. No one else did that.
Right.
Maybe it didn't come with maybe it was supercharged and had a pulley, and you wanted to swap that out. You want to make a turbo. You want to, it becomes a piece of art, right? So it's just great to hear those stories, and that's the kind of experience that I grew up in. I got the chance to see a lot of that stuff growing up, and watching shows through the 80s, as you did, like Starsky and Hutch, or 70s, Brady Bunch, and you always wondered what the car. It was all about the car. It was
right.
David Hasselhoff in Knight Rider, but it was about Kit, man.
Right.
It was the Munster coach. It was,
exactly.
It was
the
huge.
Partridge Family bus, the colored bus from Partridge Family.
I could care less when they were singing or talking. I wanted to put them on the bus. Let's see the car. Let's see the bus go. So, we were very fortunate to grow up in a time where cars were a very, very strong part, a strong character in every TV show and movie that we saw, whether it was Back to the Future. If you could name one car that was in Star Wars, it's the Land Speeder. If you could name your favorite movie to a car guy, it's going to be a car movie, So, we got inundated with that stuff. I was born right at the right time, at the perfect time to experience that, and then ultimately be hopefully a driving force in an area where we get to design build those for movies and things like that. And that's just been a great ride so far.
Wow. So I'm assuming a project comes into play, and some key figure at a studio or involved with a film would reach out to you and kind of say, "Hey, Fireball, this is what we have in mind. Can you give us a couple of sketches on what might be this vehicle that could be in this potentially this film?" Is that how it plays out?
Yeah, when it first started, I mean, you don't really know the system of kind of how it works. When it first starts is that, people are going to ask you for things for free, if unless you're a union illustrator or something like that. But generally speaking, if I were to work on a film now, I would get a call from a director or a production designer, and they say, "Hey," and they know the track record, so they say, "Hey, we're going to do this next movie. There's a car in it, so once you come in, we'll talk about it. But give me the script. I will break down the script, see everything that the car does. So it gives me the parameters. As an example, if you read the original Batman script, they just mention that it's big and black. They don't say anything else. You don't say it's got really big wings on it. There's no real reason unless it impales somebody with the wing, right? So you break down the script. You say, okay, here's the nature of the car. Here's the personality and the things that it does. We did the movie Faster with Dwayne Johnson to create a car. It's like, well, if Dwayne Johnson were a car, what would he be? Well, he'd be a hopped up Malibu SS with 700 horsepower. It's all jet black and it's scary looking and it's nothing but blunt force trauma, right? So I would have a meeting with those guys, and once I got hired, we would go into sketch. We would develop concept to the parameters of what that car might be. We'd do hundreds of sketches. So it's not like a couple of sketches. You do hundreds of them. You explore a lot of different avenues. And then once you nail down something that works, that makes the most sense, it's kind of like, you don't, when you're going to hire an actor for a movie, you don't just call them up and say, "Hey, you want to do this movie?" And the next day they're in the film. So, you generally go through, unless you have a A-list star and your friends or something, but you would go through a series of actors and that process and call them back and have them try out for the part, right? Until you find that absolute perfect person, and that might take months to find that, right? So the process is exactly the same with the car, is that you have to design these things and see what the character is, and eventually you lock into something that's a particular type of car. And then once we lock that in, then we do front, side, rear. We get all the different views of the car. Then we hire a builder, which could be any number of builders depending on if it's shooting in Australia or shooting in LA or Atlanta or wherever it is. I just finished working on a film in Atlanta, one of the Marvel movies. My son is actually a sculptor right now on Black Panther 2. So he's in the industry also. He's a lead sculptor. But so then, the car would start to get built. And as long as if someone tells you, gets mad at you and they say, "You'll never work in this town again," it's like, the only way that you don't work in this town, from my perspective, is bring a car to set and have the car not start. Right? You got a $200 million movie that's going to start filming at 7 a.m. and your call time is 6, and you got to have the car there at or at 6 or 5 or whatever, and you get there and the car won't start. Yeah, that's all you need, and then it's game over for you, right? so it's just you bring the car in, you shoot with the car, and if the movie does well, if it's a blockbuster, then the car is a star, right? And if it's a star, then it goes down a certain channel, and that channel would go into promotion. It would go get stored in case they have sequels and all that kind of stuff. And it would end up ultimately, when it's all done, it end up at the Peterson Museum. It's iconic. Everybody recognizes it and things like that. And
toys are made out of it.
Yeah, right. Of course, in documentaries and blah, blah, blah. But if you do a movie, I did a movie called Rat Race for the Zucker brothers years ago. And I designed a rocket car for that. And it was really cool. It was fun to do. And we thought the movie was funny, and it just wasn't filmed funny. So when it came out, it just tanked. And then the car went into storage. And then about 10 years later, I was over at a shop, working on another project. And I drove past this dumpster, and there's sitting my rocket car sitting in pieces next to the dumpster.
Oh man.
So you never know. So it just like an actor, if you do a movie and the movie is huge, goes big, you're a star. and everybody wants a piece of you, and everybody wants to be a, fortunate for me, the first car I did was the Batmobile, and that's currently at the Peterson Museum. I did Herbie Fully Loaded. That's the NASCAR version of Herbie. That's there as well. And I've been fortunate to work on a lot of films that have done well and have made the cars iconic. So to clarify, I've gotten this at a lot of shows. People walk up and say, "Wow, I didn't know you did the Starsky and Hutch Torino." I was 11 years old when that show came out. I did not do that car. Had nothing to do with it. Same thing with the General Lee. I don't have anything to do with those guys. I was 10 and 11 years old when those shows came out. So I've done a lot of other stuff that's been fun and cool, but not those.
So you've got coloring book. I think you mentioned you're on 47 right now.
Right. 47 is about to come out October 1st. It's called Diecast Demons. And for this book, I've partnered with Diecast Heroes, which is a magazine out of the UK, a magazine that focuses on people that customize Hot Wheels.
Oh, wow.
So people that take a Hot Wheels, like take one of these cars and one of these cars, and then they mash them together and make a custom car.
Yeah.
It's focused on that, which is a huge
All my
audience.
Hot Wheels are up here. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So most car guys have Hot Wheels in their garages. But Diecast Demons is that we've picked 20 of the best custom cars from around the globe. And all of these guys have won a position in the coloring book. So now I'm drawing every day, and we reveal a new sketch every morning on my show called Art Talk on Facebook Live. So if you go to my Facebook page, Fireball Tim Lawrence, you can watch a live show. It lasts about 20 minutes. It's on creativity and a lot of that stuff, but we reveal a new sketch every day this month that reveals what the next sketch is for that book, and that book comes out October 1st.
And I have jumped on there and I've heard you and I've watched it. It's fun. You're kind of all over the place. You're entertaining. And it's great to see the sketches, or sometimes you're like, I'll show you tomorrow. I can't show you now, and so it's very entertaining. Just so that we get a reference on time, when you sit down with like a little car like this and you need to draw it, right? I mean, is that a half-hour process? Is it 15 minutes? Is it a day and a half?
Generally sketches take a couple hours. They're pretty detailed because you're drawing something that needs to be colored. So you want something that someone's not going to spend 5 minutes coloring, but they might spend a good deal of time, and we have actually had top artists spend a couple of days coloring one of these pieces, right?
Oh, wow.
So they're pretty detailed, and it depends on the sketch, depends on the drawing. But it generally takes about 2 hours, and then it takes another hour or so to assemble a promotional piece to let people know. And we put that out on Facebook and Instagram and different stuff, and to let the person know the winner, because nobody knows that they've won until I do the sketch.
Got it.
So we're on I've only done 2 sketches for this month because it's only like day 2. Today's September 2nd, right?
Right.
So I'm going to be drawing every day just about every day this month until the 20th, when the book is going to be assembled. So people, all the diecast guys, customizers around the globe that have sent stuff in, and we've gotten a tremendous amount of people that have sent stuff in. They won't know they've won until the morning. If they watch Art Talk in the morning, they'll see whether they won or not. So this is all something that is pretty much handled through Diecast Heroes, that magazine. Which you can get that online. You can just Google Diecast Heroes and you can get the magazine there. But I'm also doing the cover of the next issue. So I handle art direction for the magazine. So I do, I design the character, which is DH. I design the covers and cover illustrations. And the next issue is all about gaming. So there's going to be a whole Mario Kart theme and diecast, and it's pretty fun. So especially for guys our age, playing video games,
So what's the best way for folks that want to watch, take in a little bit of our Art Talk again? What's the best way to get on that and watch that?
Well, we have 3 or 4 Facebook pages, but if you type in my full name, Fireball Tim Lawrence, my profile is Fireball Tim, and that's limited to 5,000 because that's what Facebook does for profile pages, right? So we created a separate fan page, and the fan page is my full name, Fireball Tim Lawrence. At 8 a.m., if you go and you just like the page at 8 a.m., you'll get a reminder on Facebook to say Fireball is going live. You can come and join us live if you want. You can watch, hang out, and we talk about all this stuff, all the upcoming shows and different things that we're doing in Southern California. But also, once they're done, then it gets posted to Facebook, and you don't watch it live anymore. But you can still watch it from the beginning, and it lasts all day. We've done about 700 episodes of that show, so it's been going.
Wow.
But the focus isn't about coloring books. It's not about diecast. The focus is about creativity. It's about, how do we shift things in our lives so that we can implement positive thoughts, positive words, and positive actions that will lead to all the cool shit you got behind you. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say shit on the show, but I just did twice. Yeah. So the thing is that our goal for life is to enjoy our life.
Sure.
We're here so that we can have a good time, and we can spread love, and we can have a positive experience, and that we're not suffering all the time. And what has been revealed to me over years, I've studied everything from the law of attraction to psychology, just as my own passion. I have a huge library of these books, and it's been revealed to me that success is unidirectional. It's one direction. It doesn't come to you. It comes because you give it. So, the reason you love cars is because you're constantly giving positive thoughts towards cars, towards car people. You're doing this podcast. You don't have to do this. You can have a job and everything else, but we're doing this because we love the subject. We love thinking about it. We love talking about it, and we love taking actions, like taking your Fiat to a car show. And when people understand that the system at play, the law that governs us, as an example, we talked about the law of gravity, right? Is that if you walk off of your balcony, there's only one direction you're going. You're not going up. You're not going sideways. You're going down, because you understand the law of gravity, and that's it. And you know that the consequence for that is going to be severe. Right. And people have to understand that a law of attraction is the same way. And I'm coming from an automotive perspective, is that when you're unidirectional and you want more good things in your life, more fun stuff with cars, and you look forward to your weekends, then you're thinking about the next fun thing you're going to do. There's no time to criticize. There's no time to give people a hard time, or to judge, or to be racist, or to be all the stuff that people are trying and that they don't work. But it doesn't stop them because they're emotionally charged. But when you come at your life from a conscious standpoint, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna just be cool today. I'm just gonna have a good day today. I'm gonna meet good people. I'm gonna talk about cool cars. I'm gonna go buy some freaking Hot Wheels at the store. And then tomorrow I'm going to go to a car show, and I'm going to talk to people about their cars, and not make it all about me, but find their stories. And then you take actions, you take positive actions that are empowering for yourself and for others. Then you're on the cool train. You're on the boat that's going to lead you to success, because success, the only way to become successful is to be successful. And that's a hard thing for people to understand when they don't have a lot of money. So in order to be successful, you have to think success, you have to speak success, and you have to take successful actions. But when you're thinking poorly about your situation, thinking poorly about yourself, I really want that car, but I can't afford it. Those are thoughts that are detrimental. So you want to design in your head that perfect life as a car person, whether you're a man or a woman or a child, and you got to visualize what that car looks like that you want, and you got to trust, you got to believe that you're meant to have these things. And those are the kind of things that we address on Art Talk. It's fun, it's entertaining, we can get goofy sometimes, but overall the message is clear: is that we're trying to help people understand that we are creative powerhouses through our ability to choose. I just want people to choose wisely, choose consciously, so that they empower themselves and they can empower others.
Well, I'll tell you, that was great, Fireball. And for those out there that are listening and watching this, you may not be an artsy person or a drawer or anything like that, but just watching and being part of Art Talk, you will walk away with something positive out of that. So do yourself a favor and take a couple minutes and spend some time on art watch and check it out. I really believe it's beneficial.
Well, I appreciate that. One thing that people don't recognize is, they think that creativity is reserved for painters and sculptors and builders and things like that, and that's not true. If you can go home and make a hamburger for yourself, then you're a creative person, because that's a creative process. You're choosing to have pickles or not have pickles. If you can make a salad at home, if you can, hang your garage looks clean, which is a shock, because compared to most of my friends' garages are like disasters. But creativity, we are creative beings. We're a hat or anything else. We create stuff. It could be a business plan. It could be a plan for the day. It could be a trip that you and your wife want to go on. That's a creative process. And it's the mind at work, assembling a number of series of parts, components to assemble an ultimate goal. That's a creative process. We all do that. Creativity is not reserved for artists or the creative artsy types at all. Playing the piano, if you're into music, it doesn't matter what it is. We are creative beings, and we're creating every single day. And the more that we recognize that, the more we jump on board, and the more we can start using some of the tools that we have at our disposal that we're not necessarily aware of, to refine our lives and make our lives better and live the places. Ultimately, there's a lot of people say to me all the time, you live in Malibu, I'd love to live there. And I say, well, why didn't you move? Say, oh, because it's too expensive. It's like, it's not. If you move into a house on the beach for $10 million, but there's places that you can move. There's reasons, and it's the belief systems that we have that keep us locked in a prison with the door open, and we're holding the key, but we're too scared to walk out. Right? It's like, oh no, I my wife would be pissed if I did that. Fear stops us from doing most of the things that we want to do. Right? It's like, I want to go into town. I want to buy some Hot Wheels. Well, my wife's going to roll her eyes and she's going to call me, oh yeah, but you never grew up. You're a child. It's like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, but it stops us because we're afraid of the consequences, the potential consequences that we make up. And
Sure.
nine times out of 10, none of that stuff comes true, right? But we have to give ourselves permission to live our lives.
Yeah.
And we keep making grandiose mistakes by assaulting people, by getting mad on airplanes, by I'm going to give up that person a piece of my mind. Nobody cares. It reminds me of and I've said this on Art Talk a couple of times, but it reminds me of the old joke that the two Buddhist monks are walking along and they come down to a river and they're not allowed to touch people, right? They're Buddhist monks, and they see a lady trying to cross the river. And this one monk says, okay, fine, I'll help her. He picks her up, carries her across the river, and drops her on the other side. And then the monks walk off. And about 2 miles later, the other monk goes like, dude, I can't believe that you touched her. You picked her up. I mean, that was unbelievable. He's talking about it. And he goes, and that guy says, well, look, I put her down on the other side of the river. You've been carrying her the whole time. And the problem is that we don't let things go. We need, and I, once again, I'm talking from an automotive perspective. This is my passion. And, I want people to get out there with their cars. If your car's in your garage and you've been sitting on it for 30 years and it hasn't been built, what the hell are you doing, man? Get busy. Let's go. Get that thing out so that you can share it with all of us.
Right. And there's a lot of that. And that'll definitely, and there is a lot of that. people holding on to old cars and, no, I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to be working on it. And they hit that point in their life. They're too old. They can't work on it. They die.
Yeah.
And the kid turns around and sells it for whatever he can get. I don't want this thing.
Yeah. It was a waste.
It was a waste. Never got to enjoy it.
Yeah,
Hey, I know we're pressed for time with you. Fireball. So, we just missed the event at the Peterson, which was phenomenal. It sounds like, and you've got some events coming up this weekend. The show will air after this weekend. So where else can somebody see you, get to meet you, come up and talk to you? Or what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, on our website at fireballtid.com, we have an events tab. You can click on the show schedule. I think it's upper left, and that shows you all the shows that we're going to be at toward the end of the year and throughout the year, and that gets updated constantly. Any show that we're going to be there is listed there. So our next show, which is this weekend, when this airs, it'll be last weekend, is the Ventura Nationals on Saturday. And then I have a museum in Oxnard called the Murphy Auto Museum. And we have a show there that's called Muscles and Mojo. And it's a cars and coffee that happens twice a week on the first and third Sundays. The entire Ventura Nationals is coming to the museum on Sunday, on the September 5th. But so every first and third Sunday is Muscles and Mojo. But we hit a lot of other cars and coffees, Conejo Valley Cars and Coffee. We're even doing Comic Con this year. So if you just check that schedule on the website, you'll be able to see where we're going to be, generally only on the weekends. And but in a strange sort of way, if you want to meet me in person or you want to come and hang out, come to Art Talk, because it's live and anything can happen. And I generally address most people's questions there, and we can interact, which is pretty fun. But if you want to come hang out, we're going to be doing a book signing with Spike Ferriston, who's a big Porsche guy. We're going to be doing that at PECLA, which is the Porsche Club of America, the Porsche Race Center that's in LA. I think it's in Carson.
Yeah, in Carson, Torrance, Carson area.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to do that probably the first of next year. That's going to happen. Shows coming up down the pike for the end of this year. We also, my friend David Neal, who's executive director at the museum, runs the Buellton Vintage Trailer Show, and that happens up in Buellton, about 300 vintage trailers at the end of September. That's all listed on the site there. So that's the best place to reach out to us.
Now, I know that every so often they have, I don't know if they're called Cars and Coffee, but they have get-togethers down at the Malibu Market.
Yep.
Is that spontaneous? Is that scheduled dates, or how is that?
No, well, I used to have a show in Malibu called Wheels and Waves, and COVID basically killed that show. And we moved that show up to the Murphy. So that's happening there. But now there is it's an informal gathering. And because of that, it's a constant war between the cops and the city. And I'm on the city, I'm a city commissioner. So, I'm on both sides of the fence because the city hates the show, and I'm a car guy and I want to go to the show, so I just kind of stand in the back and let them hash things out. But, generally we get Jay comes to that show, and Magnus comes, Spike is there all the time. He does his podcast from there sometimes. It's a different kind of show. So there's in my book, there's really two kinds of car shows. There's a money show, and then there's an art show. And the money show is that, the guys that bring the super high-end cars that ultimately they're going to flip. They're investors. They'll restore a classic. You're not going to get very few custom cars. And then there's a show like ours at the museum, which are virtually all custom cars, and those are pieces of art. So if we had a show at our museum and it was all Malibu SSs, each one would be different. Modified differently, it'd be an art show, and it's like walking into the Louvre of cars, So the Malibu show is, it's a bit more hoity-toity than the kind of shows that is happening, because I love custom cars. But at the same time, I do a lot of those shows, working on a charitable show called Halos and Heroes. It's going to happen down probably in Orange County somewhere towards the end of this year.
Perfect.
But if you want to come to the Malibu show, Jay is always there. You can meet him, come take pictures and hang out with us and look at cool cars and just, don't make a mess, don't burn out, or, the cops are going to be there and they'll take you away. So they're pretty strong there.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get my Vespa or my Alpha to do a burnout, so I don't think that'll be a problem.
Right. Well, we'd love to have you anytime, even up at the museum.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. All right. Fireball, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on. Thank you for sharing your experience and allowing the public to get to learn a little bit more about you. And again, to everybody out there, visit his site, the Fireball Tim site, Fireball Publishing, Art Talk, and if you have anybody has any questions or wants, or can't get a hold of him or whatever, feel free to reach out to me and I will put you in contact somehow. Again,
awesome.
Tim, thank you so much, Fireball. And we will be in touch. Thanks, man.